Welcome to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always joined by Callum and James in the studio. How you going, guys?
Good. We're finally back.
Finally back. We also should be joined by Alan Deep
later,
at some point during the show. Yeah, we're finally back. We took a hiatus. It's been, what, 6 weeks?
5 or 6 weeks, yeah.
Forced hiatus.
Forced hiatus. Well, Alan came back from Canberra, as we know. He was in the last episode.
Yeah.
He had a virus that he gave to me. And then I was well for about a week after that. I had a week off, well for about a week.
Got sick as well.
Then Callum got sick, and then we copped COVID.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a good boy. Callum's a good boy.
It was like 2 weeks, you guys, like 2 weeks of normal sickness, and then like 2 weeks of COVID.
Yeah.
And then we like took a safety week off.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's been a bit much lately.
Yeah, and it looks like, considering how things are going, there'll probably be more of those hiatuses in the future.
You know, look, we've been thrown in the deep end, and look, we didn't do the show for what, like a year because of COVID.
Yeah.
And it's like now it's like that again, but no one cares, and its life is normal.
Everyone
and
just
people like Callum and myself who work in supermarkets are just thrown under the bus by the government and society because people want to live their lives. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
But again, it's no masks. We're the forgotten front line, essentially.
Yeah. Please wear a mask.
Please wear your masks. We copped COVID because people don't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't want to get it again. In 6 weeks, I'll get it again.
Yeah, you can get it.
Anyway, rant over. Welcome to the Tuesday Review. We're here to talk about movies.
Finally, we're back.
Finally, we're back. And we're going to talk about Thor, Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah. A good time to be back. Got straight on it.
Yeah, straight back in with the big Marvel movie.
Definitely.
This is the second Thor movie made by New Zealand director Taika Waititi. Actually, I hope he gets a trilogy.
I mean, now I thought it funny because I was talking to a friend about it, and he called it Thor 2, and I didn't even realize the mistake until
Thor 4,
until later. It's actually Thor 4, and then I was watching a review on YouTube, and the guy called it Thor 2 as well. So I think most people it's. I mean, one, it's been so long since the first two Thor movies, but also like no one really liked those movies a lot. You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
the standard has risen.
Yeah, MCU has changed so much since those first two movies came out. But I just thought it funny. It's like Taika Waititi reinvented Thor with Ragnarok.
It was a soft reboot of the franchise in a way.
And so now people really kind of in their minds are thinking Ragnarok and then this.
Yeah.
And everything before is like a distant memory, for better or worse.
So first, I want to talk about, before we actually get into why all the other critics are wrong, I want to first have a discussion about the critical reception that's not from us about this film, because you were telling me before we saw it that everyone was saying it's the worst, like one of the worst MCU movies ever made.
Yeah,
so I was on Twitter yesterday after I got home, and right on cue I see this thread talking about how it's worse than Minions: Rise of Gru, and it's a silly and dumb, but like for some reason there was a meme that had that the Rise of Gru is like, it had like a cartoon character saying it's for babies, it's so dumb, and then it had the same guy being like, people are acting like it's a Citizen Kane for the modern age, and it's like taking the piss out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why does everyone hate it? I don't understand. They're saying that Thor, the actual Thor #2, The Dark World, they're saying that was better than this.
Oh god, no, everyone hates that movie.
It's not a good movie.
I'm like, number one, like, it was a weak, The Dark World, I mean, was kind of weak, but it wasn't atrociously bad.
No.
And, I mean, but Love and Thunder is certainly better than that, and it's not that bad at all.
This is something...
Why do people hate it?
Yeah, this is something I was really shocked at. Like, when they announced Love and Thunder, when the trailer came out, everyone was on board. Everyone loved Ragnarok. Everyone loves Taika Waititi. He's so hot right now. And the movie comes out. I see it like opening week. You guys are sick, so you couldn't come. So I go with some other friends. We all, like the three other friends I saw it with, we all loved it. Thought it was really funny. Maybe not as good as Ragnarok, but
that's a high bar. Yeah,
it's still perfectly enjoyable film.
Yeah,
I go home. See online, people like, this is the worst MCU movie ever. The MCU's gone down the toilet. This movie is garbage. And I'm like,
I don't. Yeah, there must be a
Scratching my
different.
head.
There must be a different cut in Australia.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I was scratching my
Well,
head. And I'm
that makes sense. We get the Australian cut for various
oh yeah,
reasons.
we'll talk about the Aussie kind of humor and NZ humor. But like, I understand why someone wouldn't like this movie, but the extreme reaction
Yeah.
it's getting, and all it comes back down to is the same thing happened with the Eternals.
Yeah.
People were like, "This is the worst movie ever. The MCU's garbage. This, that, the other." And we saw the movie and we're like, "No, it's fine."
Yeah.
Because it
Eternals
doesn't
was-
fit
I mean,
the specific archetype
that people wanted.
People want out of a Marvel movie necessarily.
Eternals didn't.
No, Eternals did.
But Love and
Thor is
Thunder
closer to it.
It's closer, and I'm like, so people don't want the seriousness or the, like, you know, the departure that Eternals did, but they also don't want the.
Look,
Like,
it gets,
I don't understand.
So one of the issues is that I think I understand is that there was a lot of comedy in Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
Not all of it sticks,
No.
but that's par for the course for these films anyway.
Exactly.
It's not for people like us. I feel like personally, I speak for myself and probably you and Nathan.
Yeah.
Like, not every joke in the MCU lands all the time. Some don't.
No, a lot of
And-
them are very rough.
And
yeah.
because it's like some of them even make you cringe,
Yeah.
you know, to see it. Some people find all that stuff funny. That's good. That's good for them.
Yeah.
But you have to take the good with the bad. So you have to look at the movie as a whole.
Yeah.
And overall, the comedy was fine.
That's the thing is, like, people are acting, the way people acting, it's almost like there's no precedent for this.
Yeah.
Like, the Guardians of the Galaxy didn't exist, or Thor
Yeah.
Ragnarok didn't
That's
exist.
yeah.
If Ragnarok and Guardians never came out and didn't exist, and this movie came out, yes, it will be a shock to the
Yeah.
system. But the fact that, like, there has been a lot of humor in the MCU for years.
Yeah, it's a
This
comic
is-
book franchise.
Yeah, and this movie might be the silliest or the goofiest,
Yeah.
sure, whatever, and not all the jokes land.
Yeah.
But people are acting like it's out of nowhere, and that I don't understand.
I will say that the first half had like a joke a minute, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know about that.
It's not
'Cause, like-
100% hit rate.
Yeah, because if you have jokes constantly every scene,
Yeah.
you're going to end up in that Spaceballs territory.
You get
which-
fatigued, and you'll see
Yeah.
you get fatigued.
But
yeah.
it did even out.
Yeah.
So like the second half of the film is a much more traditional Marvel movie than the first half to me. Like the way they
Yeah.
kind of paced the jokes out a bit better.
a little bit, yeah.
That's best I can explain.
But it's so weird that like with Eternals and this movie, why was this the straw that broke the camel's
Yeah.
back in terms of the MCU? Why not Black Widow?
I've-
Why not
yeah.
Captain Marvel? Why not the crap that was at the end of Shang-Chi? Like, why is
my-
this?
My personal opinion on this is it's because if you look at Shang-Chi and Black Widow, they have the same, not the same type, it's a little different, but they have a very specific type of action scene. A lot of the Marvel movies that people will say overhype,
Yeah.
Marvel, like Black Widow and Shang-Chi have more in common in terms of their action.
But they had awful action scenes.
They did, but people like that awful action.
That's true.
Maybe
yeah.
I feel like it's just safe. But I don't understand. I feel
And
like
there's less of that standard action-y
I feel
fare
like I'm on
in-
another planet. I feel like I've gone crazy.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Like how can someone watch Black Widow and be like, that was fine, whatever, and then watch Love and Thunder and go, oh, too many goofy jokes. This is the worst movie I've ever seen. The MCU's
well,
finished.
Black Widow was
Like-
a very serious film in a way.
But it
had-
was one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Not only MCU movies,
And the
it was
CG,
complete
yeah.
garbage.
yeah.
And
Alum is now entering the studio.
why was that the
Yeah.
why wasn't that the movie that said the
I'm
MCU's
I'm
finished?
kind of
Like,
wondering.
we had the
and
reaction.
keep in mind that this is just a feeling. Maybe it's just got to do with the Oceania of it all. Like maybe we were like, oh yeah, that was fine because we're Anzac, for lack of a better word.
but that's
I'm like, so the humor kind of I understood, like the Russell Crowe scene, for example. We'll get to later.
That I understand. Like we'll talk about that a bit later. Like there is, like we said, a lot of humor, and a lot of it doesn't hit, and a lot of it would go over international audiences' heads, and it's more like an Aussie kind of. You're in on the joke,
Yeah.
but people seem to be ignoring the good action scenes, the
Yeah.
great costumes,
Yeah.
the jokes that do land.
Because it was a very creative film, actually.
Yeah.
When you think about it,
And it's not even it's not a great movie by any stretch, but it's just like
it's not the worst.
why was this the one that is so divisive amongst people?
Yeah.
And that there is a large vocal portion of the audience who are just like, this sucks. This is the end of the MCU.
To-
Like,
to catch Alan up, who has just arrived. Good to
I've
have
been
you here,
listening
Alan.
in while driving.
Oh, okay, never mind.
He did his homework.
We're just discussing. If you're just tuning in now, we're discussing the critical reception that's not ours of the film, which is pretty negative overall.
Yeah, largely
From-
One thing
divisive.
I don't understand is like, why is this movie being used as the whole MCU has lost its way?
That's what I'm saying. I don't understand it.
Like, I feel obviously yes, all these films are intrinsically linked, being part of the MCU, but it's weird to be like, okay, this film, this is why they've lost their way. No, it's, like
That's the
things
thing.
that
It's
happened
like
before that.
when
like,
Captain Marvel came out, I'm like, what are they doing? They ruined several characters. They ruined the Skrulls. And then Black Widow comes out. I'm like, what are they doing? They have no plan. Like, the MCU's lost its way. And then, like, Loki came out. I'm like, okay, they still know what they're doing.
It still blows my mind
And-
how positive people reviewed Black Widow.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so confused at to people saying this is the worst MCU or, that this movie's so awful. I'm like, you cannot like this movie, that's fine. You can I have problems with Love and Thunder, but it's fine. It's a perfectly enjoyable film. We all had fun watching it.
Yeah, they even managed to surprise me with how subtle some of the writing was. They managed to weave in some story threads in a way that I thought, yeah, okay. Like, the premise was, I thought going in there, having seen it, I'm like, well, how are they going to do this? And then, like, the whole Natalie Portman story, I was like, yeah, they handled that perfectly fine.
Yeah, like,
it worked.
You can, like, we'll get into it now. There are problems. There is some inconsistency, tonally uneven moments. But overall, the funny bits are funny. The sad bits are sad. The action's cool.
Yeah, really cool. Some of the most creative action I've seen in the MCU.
And so it might not be the best movie, but it's a good movie.
Yeah, it's worth it. Yeah, exactly.
It's better than Captain Marvel, better than Black Widow.
Better than Shang-Chi.
In terms of action, it's definitely better than Shang-Chi. Do you guys even remember Ant-Man and the Wasp? I don't.
Yeah,
like, this movie's at least more memorable and fun.
I know that it happened.
Yeah.
Also, like, it's colorful. This film has color coming out of
This
every
movie,
frame.
We reviewed Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness quite a while ago now, but in terms of the episodes, not that long ago. I think this movie's better than that. More consistent, at least.
Yeah, it's bright and colorful, and it's fun.
Yeah, it's more even overall.
It presents things that we haven't seen before in the MCU, and it does so in a fun way.
Yeah.
The action scenes, especially Gore the God Butchers, are interesting. We haven't seen that type of character so far.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like you said, like to frame it like that, so imaginative in a... Like I said, it's not the best. The CG sometimes is very noticeable, but we all know that going in there, it's an MCU film. It's going to have CG everywhere, but it's not that. It doesn't have that washed out feel that so much of the MCU movies do.
I feel like and there are a lot of people who do like it, but it's just there's this
big vocal.
It almost feels like
the majority.
It almost feels like half the audience, and I blew my mind. I'm like, I don't understand this reaction. Why is this not okay? Why was Eternals not okay? But all the other crappy MCU things are fine.
I was telling you last night after we saw the film about how interesting it was a couple months back. People started talking on the net about how maybe Eternals isn't that bad, and actually, if you give it another watch, it's pretty good. And I'm like, I wonder if 3 months from now, people will be like, maybe Thor wasn't actually that terrible.
Yeah. Look, we've said it before, not to toot our own horn, but the Tuesday Review is like a compass navigating choppy waters or whatever, like we seem to always be on the right side of history. One thing I will say, every time we review an MCU show or movie, I always say it's the MCU. You're either in or you're out.
Yeah, that's true.
You either watch them all or you don't. I am aware there are a lot of people who just pick and choose, who just don't watch the TV shows, just watch the movies. I know a lot of people who haven't seen most of the movies and are like, yeah, I went to see Thor. I know people who go to see the sequels of movies they haven't seen. And it's just like, why? So, there is this kind of more casual audience. And even amongst them, the movie seems to be divisive. It's not just the comic nerds who are angry. It's not just the MCU fans. But yeah, in saying that, I don't think you should watch these movies. Like, they're movies. They're not even movies. They're like episodes in a TV show. They're issues of a comic book.
That's what I was going to say. It's interesting to see that they've turned into like a literal issue.
Yeah. So that might be a problem in terms of like the larger filmmaking and whatever, and the franchise as a whole. But yeah, like when we review a movie and say, oh, this is recommended or not recommended, it's just like, I recommend this movie, but like you have to watch all the other MCU movies.
And it's over 100 hours now.
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
just pick,
crazy.
this is like the 29th film, I want to say, 28th, something like that. Like, don't just pick it up. Don't just be like, oh,
you can
Love
have a
and
few
Thunder-
questions.
Yeah, Love and Thunder looks quirky. I'll go see that. But yeah, in saying that, like, it's not that bad. It's really fun. We laughed. We cried.
I was chuckling.
We were exhilarated.
Yeah.
I was chuckling pretty consistently.
Yeah, right. It's just a
Yeah, like it was
perfectly fine
sensible chuckle.
MCU
Yeah, it's
movie.
a sensible chuckle movie.
We should probably just go straight into spoilers.
Yes,
That's it.
spoilers.
Get into the meat and potatoes. So, full spoiler alert for Thor: Love and Thunder. What should we talk about first?
First of all, the cast.
I was disappointed. Let's talk about the music very quickly first.
The Guns N' Roses soundtrack.
So it feels like Thor: Love and Thunder, brought to you by sponsors Guns N' Roses.
that's
a little
also
bit.
true.
I think they tried to shoehorn.
Do you remember like the first two Thor movies, and people were kind of lukewarm on those, and then Ragnarok came out and it was just like, yeah, heavy metal, like it's like a metal album cover.
Yeah,
like
it opened with
this
like
is
Led
what-
Zeppelin. It was
yeah,
really cool.
It's like,
and-
this is what Thor's meant to be.
Yeah.
He's got long hair and he carries a hammer. It's just like, yeah, man o' war kind of.
yeah,
It was one
rock.
specific thing. Like, I understand Guns N'
And-
Roses is cool and all, and having that sort of music in the movie's fine. But when they have to have like,
I feel-
one of like Heimdall's sons, like, I go by Axel now
Yeah.
from Guns N' Roses. I'm like,
It felt like
they're
like
shoehorning it in a bit too hard.
no, it felt like Taika Waititi, like, and because Guardians obviously has the whole
The 80s retro,
rock
yeah.
soundtrack and whatever. It felt like more like he's picking a deliberate,
Yeah.
like not theme, but like
I just,
he wanted to feel, and he's like, it's the 80s metal.
aesthetic.
Yeah,
he
but
went
it's
with
just
a
like,
certain aesthetic.
yeah, it's like as Thor as told by Guns N' Roses, the hits kind of thing.
it wouldn't have surprised me to see like Slash in there and the god of Pantheon as he's the god of axes. And
Actually,
like,
no,
that
no,
would
no.
be cool.
That would've been cool.
Yeah, but I just feel like there's too much kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge with Guns N' Roses. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's a
didn't
bit much.
need Heimdall's son to be like, call me Axel from
Yeah.
Guns N' Roses. By the way, go to gunsnroses.com for their world tour tickets now. Like wink, wink. Like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Like, the music's fine.
Yeah,
I didn't like them trying to shoehorn
Look,
references into the band.
when you're playing with a decade like the 80s and the amount of hair metal that came from the 80s, I will agree there's probably so many tracks that they could have used that would have made the film a bit better, because like once you've heard one Guns N' Roses song or two,
Oh,
that's
that's
what
not
I'm
100% fair, but
no, I know what you're saying, but I also see what James is saying, that they wanted to keep that one thread going through the film.
I'm saying it's like Ragnarok was like, yeah, metal, and then this movie is like, yeah, metal, but instead of a metal soundtrack, we're going to use all the Guns N' Roses tracks.
Yeah, it's like a
As
thread
a
through the
thread.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a
yeah.
big problem.
It's not a big problem. I just
The songs worked in the scenes, so
Yeah.
that's all that really
Yeah.
matters, even if it was
And it's-
uninspired.
And I think that's maybe what people don't like is like the fun metal Thor, like him. Like
It's
at
already
the,
been
the
done.
opening action scene, which
It's
was
also
hilarious.
like that was like having Welcome to the Jungle and Paradise City and
Yeah.
Remember Rain. That's all fine, but I'm like, it just, for me, it's just like, oh, we got the rights to play the greatest hits soundtrack for Guns N' Roses. Just use that, guys. Thank
Yeah.
you. Instead of maybe picking songs that better suit each scene.
Maybe, yeah.
But that's just a minor
Yeah.
negative.
And Nathan nitpick.
Yeah, nothing nitpick. That's, well, how do you feel about it, Alan Deep?
I'm not a big 80s music guy, so I thought it was alright. But again, it did all feel like they were just using kind of one
Yeah.
style. And I was like, you could branch out. There's other stuff
I mean,
going on.
even with Ragnarok, it was like Led Zeppelin. What else? There was a few, but it was very more varied, I suppose. And it's each sort of
Yeah.
track suited.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Is for this
Yeah.
one that they chose to specifically
showcase one artist mainly.
There's some good screaming goats, though.
Yeah.
The goats were
hilarious.
good. The
Well, I
goats
guess
were good.
should we just talk about the comedy in the movie?
Yeah, the comedy's good. It didn't all land, but enough of
I'd
it
say-
did. Enough of it did that I was
I'd say it's like
consistently
a
chuckling.
70 to 80% hit rate, maybe.
Look,
It's definitely over 50%.
Some
hit
of it
rate.
made me cringe,
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where they're writing so many jokes. They want so many jokes to land
Yeah.
for also so many different audiences as
That's
well.
what I was going to say.
But
They didn't land for us. That means they don't land for
I-
other people.
Yeah.
I would agree with critics of the movie who say like they could have toned it down a little bit. Like it
Yeah.
is a
Yeah,
bit
yeah.
much. It's just like joke.
It's
joke,
not. Yeah,
joke,
exactly.
joke,
It's not
joke, joke,
Spaceballs.
joke,
It's
joke.
it's a serious.
And
an
it's just
actual
like,
film.
okay, have a breather here and there, and then a character makes a joke. That's more in line with the earlier MCU films, I understand. But the movie we get is like still enjoyable.
Yeah.
You can say, too many jokes, but like I don't think that puts the movie
No.
in an unwatchable territory,
No.
like people are saying.
A lot of the stuff with Mjolnir Stormbreaker, those
That's
gags.
that's the best gag in the movie.
Yeah.
Also, best relationship in the film.
Exactly. Like, and the fact that it ties in with the whole Jane Thor romance,
Yeah.
but it's also just
It's
a
a
really
second-
funny
yeah.
gag of like him, like like talking to Mjolnir, and then like Stormbreaker
Yeah.
appears in the corner of the frame. He's like, "No, what? We were just catching up. I
yeah.
didn't,
And he
So
picks the hammer up.
yeah.
You're like, just checking.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
still
just
worthy.
checking.
Just checking.
That stuff was great.
So one thing about this film is it's based on the Mighty Thor comics. The
With
Jane Foster becoming Thor,
Yeah.
and Jane Foster gets cancer, and by using Mjolnir, the hammer, she manages to stay alive a bit longer.
Yeah.
Now the reason I thought this was an interesting comic run for them to explore was because Jane Foster's character was famously underutilized in the MCU.
Yeah.
They kind of
Well,
just disappeared her away.
Yeah, I mean, her first, the first two Thor movies, she's just the love interest, basically.
Yeah.
And Natalie Portman was, after the second one, was like, I'm not really interested in this anymore, and she didn't do them anymore.
Yeah, don't blame her.
And you can't blame her. And I think this granted her the opportunity to finally be more an active part.
Leave a mark on the MCU. Yeah.
And also to have a proper goodbye, because after The Dark World, I think Age of Ultron, or one of the movies that came after, whichever one it was, and they're like, "Where's Jane?" And it's like, "Oh, she dumped me." And then
Yeah.
like Infinity War happens, and everyone gets snapped, and it's like, "Where's Jane?" It's like, "Oh, she got snapped." It's like, "Oh, sad." And it's like always like a photo of her on the screen.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
like, okay, so she's around, and it's just like, and this finally is just like, okay, we get a story where she becomes a hero, and also Thor and her get to get closure for their relationship, and the audience gets to see that instead of just
they get
off screen.
to deliver
Yeah.
on the
and if
the
Natalie,
chemistry.
if Natalie Portman never returned to the role, and they're just like, Jane's gone, that's fine too.
But it's
But
good
this-
that
it was
they
nice-
use. Yeah, it's good they use the opportunity.
Yeah, especially for people saying this movie has no place in the MCU,
Yeah.
doesn't achieve anything. I'm like, at the very least, they got to say goodbye to each other on screen, and we got to experience that. Do you
And-
know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and we also got to resolve the Mjolnir Stormbreaker situation because was it one of the Thanos movies where he had to use Stormbreaker? Which one was it?
Infinity War.
Yeah, he couldn't.
He had to create. They had to
Yeah.
go to Eitri the dwarf.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
create the Stormbreaker so that he could then come back and.
Yeah.
But he
So-
should have gone for the head, and he.
Yeah.
And he, yeah,
But
Whatever.
it's-
that's a separate
It also,
argument.
it also serves to reconcile that whole thing and give Thor a blank slate at the end, if you know what I mean. So it takes all of the story threads that we've seen from Thor
Yeah.
and kind of resets everything so we have a fresh character going forward at the end.
He's finally
Plus a
gotten
surprise.
over all his baggage
Yeah.
from the last
So
however
that's-
many appearances he's had.
That's
in
what
the
I mean.
MCU.
Obviously, it's not lost on the audience because you have to physically see it.
Yeah.
It's like it's on screen, so you can't be lost on anyone. But I think that a lot of the negative reception doesn't take into account that they're using an opportunity to reconcile all of this. And in my opinion, and my opinions aren't always good ones, they managed to do it more or less gracefully. They managed,
Look, I won't
like, it's
say
not perfect.
I won't say it was done perfect. I won't even say it was a great job, but I say
But
it's
it's passable.
done well.
Yeah.
And it worked. At the end of the movie, you're like, okay, I got what I needed.
Yeah, and that's what do people want? Like, okay, maybe they wanted Ragnarok 2. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
maybe that's what they were expecting. They were expecting more action.
But like
They're
I would
expecting
consider, like we said, it's Thor 2. People can
Yeah.
mistake it. This is Ragnarok 2. It's a
Yeah.
bit sillier. It's
Were
a
they
bit different,
were they expecting
but-
a Hulk cameo or something? It's like, okay, I understand that was a part of
Yeah.
Ragnarok, was there were more characters
Mm.
from the overall MCU. But this is very much a Thor film, and maybe that's why people didn't like it.
That's another reason I've heard complaints. It's, oh, you had Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor, and then the Guardians leave, and it's just like, oh, and it's just like, well,
It's a
Do
Thor
you know
film.
there's a
movie.
Guardians of
The
the Galaxy
problem-
movie coming out?
yeah,
Yeah.
the one of the problems we had with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was that it just became a Wanda movie, and we were
Yeah.
like, well, whose movie is it?
Yeah, that's right.
You're wasting Doctor Strange so you can have we should have just made a Wanda movie or
Yeah.
a second season of WandaVision.
Yeah.
And it's just like that would have happened with this movie. It's just like, is it a Guardians movie? Is it a
Yeah.
Thor movie?
But I think it's good that it was a Thor focused film.
yeah,
That being said, though, apart from Ragnarok, people don't like Thor. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So
people
maybe it's,
don't remember. People didn't really give a shit about Thor until Ragnarok.
yeah. So maybe that's why people don't like it. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, it's still fun, it's still colorful, it's Watiti.
yeah.
It's still Thor focused. You know what I mean?
But I think it's also because of it's like I said before, because of the change from Thor 1 and 2 to Ragnarok. And since then, Thor has been more fun, more lovable,
Yeah,
more
goofy.
stupid.
Goofball. Yeah.
And this movie kind of takes that to its nth degree. And I
Yeah.
understand maybe it's a bit much. He is very dumb. He is very goofy. But I'm like I said, this didn't come out of nowhere. This has
No,
been
they've
happening.
been building up to
at
it,
least
yeah.
for the last since when did Ragnarok come out? 5 years ago, at least 6 years ago, or it was a while ago.
Yeah.
So this didn't come out of nowhere.
No.
And that's
not.
like the extreme reaction is what I'm confused about.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, they made him too silly. It's, they've completely ruined Thor. Oh, he's too stupid. He's too dumb. It's just like, this is the worst movie ever.
What do you expect?
What- yeah,
I
did you
what-
not see the last however many movies he was in? Where he's kind of a lovable goof.
Yeah.
That's
That's like the
do you not
brand now.
do you not
Yeah.
remember where he was fat and drinking beer?
Yeah, that was a whole thing. Which,
that was all,
which,
that was
you
his
know,
previous.
Which some people had problems with, some people would, but most people were liked that. It was funny, you know.
yeah,
And it's like,
it's stealing. He's still the same character.
yeah, it's like that's the whole. Anyway,
Yeah, so that's
I think the Thor and Jane relationship generally works.
yeah. There is a chemistry
think-
between Hemsworth and Portman, so
I
that
think
helps.
the best part of it were the flashbacks to their relationship. You know, just being a normal couple on Earth.
Yeah.
One, it was funny, and two, it's something we never really saw before,
Yeah.
and it makes their relationship stronger. Which before, like I said, it's just like, oh, she dumped me off screen, now she's gone. And
Yeah.
it's like now it's like we finally get.
They do the work to build up that relationship
That
before
wasn't there
they
before.
explore it, like
Yeah.
before they go in too deep on it.
Yeah.
Which is what I'd like again to bring up the negative reaction. I don't understand because they put the work in to deliver on the notes.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe it's tonally uneven. Maybe sometimes it's too funny. It subtracts from some of the emotional scenes, but most of the time it works perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I was thinking, like, watching the movie, I'm like, and you know, at the end when Thor and Jane finally say goodbye, and you know, it brings an end to her character, and Thor finally kind of gets over their relationship. I'm like, this is better than the crap in Doctor Strange, where him and Christine, Christine's getting
Who?
married. Yeah, Christine's getting married at the start. He's like, oh, I'm over you, but secretly he's not. Then he goes to the other universe. He finds alternate universe Christine, and she's like, you know, I'm not your Christine, but we kind of have to work together. And he's like, I love you. And she's like, I love you.
I've
And
never
then-
met you
yeah,
before.
and then he's
Yeah.
like, but technically we don't know each other. And it's like, and she's like, I got to go back to my universe, bye. And he's like, okay, I'm over you now, bye. And we were like, what? They didn't
Yeah.
earn that.
No, not
This
at all.
movie has a better version of that, where it's just like Thor and Jane get to work side by side, get to reconcile their problems, and get closure on their relationship.
Yeah.
The end. It's like, okay, that was fine. This movie did a better job at a similar theme.
It established things. It took its time to establish things, and you know, a lot of people don't like the montage, but it works.
No, it worked perfectly.
It works.
well,
It works to establish training,
Yeah.
and it works to establish relationships.
Yeah. Speaking of Jane, like her becoming Mighty Thor was awesome, but it happens off screen.
Yeah.
And I know they wanted to show, like, a surprise to the audience of, like, her showing up, and it's like, oh, wow, now she's Thor. but I don't think they needed a bit more.
She got ripped for it. That was good.
Yeah.
She had some guns.
Callum,
Also happy.
don't
Yeah.
embarrass me, please.
She
No.
had some guns. No, but she did.
No, yeah.
She
See,
was the mighty Thor.
Yeah, she
We
put
look.
the work
We've
in.
talked before about.
Oh, here we
Muscle
go.
woman fetish.
Yeah.
No. We've
He's
talked.
got a giantess.
No. We've talked before about.
He's lost his train of
Yeah.
thought.
Yeah, no. I'm just trying to.
He's just thinking of muscle women
Long
now.
time listeners know.
Yeah, no.
Callum
I was
likes
just-
actresses to put the work in if they're going to play
Yeah,
a
he's just watching.
superhero.
He's like
Yeah.
She-Hulk in his mind now.
No. I was just. It was nice to see a woman with guns
Bless you.
handling a big heavy hammer. That's all, you know. Is that not a progressive
yeah,
thought?
yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not. That's you know. I want my women to be muscly on screen. Thank you very much.
But anyway, like I think they definitely needed more her as Thor. Like I know they wanted to have the surprising.
Alan, are you gonna get us all sick
No.
again?
Yeah, I'm
That's all
coughing,
okay.
Callum. Nathan's got. We're all. Oh god, we're gonna go on hiatus for another 5 weeks. Don't worry. Oh my god, here we go.
But Jane Foster was
But-
good as the mighty
Yeah.
Thor.
She's also
looked
called
cool.
Jane Fonda at one point and Jodie Foster. I think.
Jodie Foster, that was funny. But yeah, I think they could have done a bit more with her, like training, maybe being a hero, saving people.
Yeah,
Because they
so-
mentioned
That
that.
would have been cool.
Yeah.
So even her fighting some classic C-list Marvel villains would have been interesting. Like a quick montage.
Yeah, that would have been cool. One problem I do have is, like, you know, like we said, this movie is packed wall to wall with jokes and humor. I felt like, I don't know if it's just me, but Jane never seen that jokey before this movie. This movie definitely felt like it was Taika Waititi speaking through Jane,
Look,
like jokes.
Maybe
jokes.
it was the hammer. I don't know.
And like, I know she's deflecting because she doesn't want to tell Thor the truth about her
She could be
cancer.
playing. Look, she could be playing it up and trying to be more lighthearted because
Yeah, she-
deep down there's
She's
a lot
doing
of
that,
darkness.
but I felt like I didn't feel like her character. It
That
felt
being said,
a
like I
bit
said, it
off.
is a reboot. A soft, like Ragnarok was a soft reboot, so maybe they're bringing the
That's
new
true.
Thor aesthetic to Jane.
That's true.
And that's
yeah.
also true.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that I would agree with. Was like maybe it's a bit too jokey here and there with her specifically.
Can we talk about Russell Crowe yet?
Yeah, I guess so. There's no order to these things, so
Yeah. Well, we are talking
So-
about the cast. Yeah.
yeah. So they go to the omnipotent city with all the gods, which looks really cool.
Yeah. it
One
does.
thing
Yeah.
I will say, like everyone who's listened to this show knows how much I hate CGI. Hate it. It's overused. It looks bad.
Can I pause you real quick?
Yeah.
One of the big problems people have with this film is they say that this film has some of the worst CG
Oh.
ever in the MCU.
This.
Continue.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, keeping that in mind, people's reaction, keeping in mind how much I hate CGI, I like the use of CGI. Most uses of CGI in this movie, fun and interesting. I
Yeah.
like if you're going to use CGI, use it for something.
The
weird
shadow
and
monsters
colourful.
were cool.
Yeah, that's why I like Guardians of the Galaxy. It has lots
it went
of
black and
CGI.
white.
Yeah, it has lots of CGI Guardians of the
Yeah.
Galaxy. A lot of it's kind of rough, but they do fun, quirky, crazy
Yeah.
things with it, you know? Same with Love and Thunder. It's just like really cool stuff. The God
Yeah.
City, you know, the monsters, that opening action scene with the hover bikes and those weird owl guys yelling
Yeah.
is like crazy. And he does the Van Damme splits. That was funny.
Yeah.
And it's just like crazy stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know. And considering how rough the CGI has been in the last few,
The modern era of
Yeah.
MCU has not delivered. Yeah.
this one had less rough moments.
Yeah.
Most of it was okay.
Yeah.
The style was a bit rough.
There were some issues at the very start.
There was
maybe.
only one
Yeah.
CGI moment that made me go, ugh. And that was Heimdall's son appearing in the portal.
That was bad.
I was like,
That's one thing.
No
they,
bueno,
that's
yeah.
another thing that where the script maybe fails a little bit is they need to set up Heimdall's son a
as
little
a
bit
character,
earlier.
yeah.
And they should have had like a little scene of him maybe with Valkyrie or another Asgard, like an Asgardian adult saying, "You're Heimdall's son. We're going to train using your eyesight powers, you know, the Heimdall powers." And then he's like trying and he can't he can't do it. And he's like, "Damn, I'm not good enough." And they're like, "Don't worry, you're still young." Then later in the movie when he's trapped with the kids, when he appears, it's not just random because that was awkward.
Yeah.
And also the fact that he's a little cutout head was really poorly done.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't ruin the whole movie.
No,
I don't know,
yeah.
I don't know what people.
That was the only, yeah. And considering, like you said, we're kind of dramatic when it comes to CGI.
Yeah.
that was the only moment that made me kind of go, ugh. That, and like, you know, for a film of the MCU,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. There was only one moment of CG that pulled me out.
Yeah. So yeah, Nathan will go to the God City.
Yes, so Zeus.
Yeah, yes. Cool. So and there's like all the cool gods, and there's Bao the god of dumplings, and all these cool little things. That's another thing I like about this movie. Cool costumes,
Yeah.
colorful, weird gods. The Asgardian guards and
Yeah.
the Zeus's guards.
They're very creative.
Thor's new costume is dope. Really cool.
Well, he gets that really awesome other costume, and then they get rid of it real quick.
Yeah, he gets that black costume, and we're
And I
like,
was-
cool. And then
yeah.
he like does the thunder, and he gets an even like flashier costume with the helmet. I'm like, that's also cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Anyway, Zeus shows up and he's like, and it's Russell Crowe, but he's doing like a Greek fish and chip shop owner.
Mixed with like a
And-
little bit of Franco Cozzo.
Yeah, and it's just like for us in the northern suburbs of Melbourne, hilarious. I feel like 90% of an audience, even in Australia, but around the world, have no idea.
I don't know
what
where
he's
it's coming
doing.
from. Yeah.
But we
And I-
speak to these people like every day.
Nathan and I were theorizing that him, Chris Hemsworth, and Taika Waititi were laughing their asses off the whole time,
Yeah.
and no one else probably got the joke. Because that's definitely what he's doing. You can't tell me he's not doing that.
Yeah.
He's like, we are the god of the peoples.
Yeah.
He's like, you see the stage here. This is the one that looks like a stage. Like, and we're like, this is, this is a couple of days.
Yeah.
What's he gonna pull out next? It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So good.
So
Not what I expected from Zeus,
No.
but it was what
Yeah.
it's what we all
And that's the thing.
secretly.
A lot of people were probably like, we want
Big,
serious
serious,
Zeus,
yeah.
big beard and like big muscly guy, you know, and like pointing down at people and going.
they
you
want
know,
Arnie, you know, like throwing a lightning
Yeah,
bolt.
throwing a lightning bolt. And I'm like, that would have been cool. But
It's like, have
this-
you read Greek history? Zeus was a sex pest.
yeah, yeah. all the gods in this movie are just creepy.
Zeus,
sex.
Zeus is like what he
very
is
on
portrayed
brand.
as
You're
on
going back to
screen.
the orgy.
Yeah.
It's on brand.
Yeah. Can I say how much I kind of love the fact that he's the big king god and all the other gods
Yeah.
chant Zeus, Zeus,
Yeah.
Zeus. I'm like,
He's
it's
like the god of the gods.
yeah, it's interesting because like, of course, he was the god of the gods in the Greek
Yeah.
pantheon, and so it's interesting that there's that hierarchy with the
Yeah.
gods. Really, that Zeus is the top because he's seen as
He's
the
like
most powerful.
He's like the number one.
Yeah,
Most famous, and yeah, like when he's doing the tricks with the thunderbolt,
yeah.
and he's like spinning it, and everyone's like, "Yeah!"
like he's
Yeah.
like a celebrity.
But yeah, it's hilarious. And when he's like goes down the steps, he pulls up his like
Yeah.
skirt and he kind of tramps down the. It's so funny. But yeah, like it would have been cool if it was like serious Zeus and serious gods. But what we get in the movie is lots of fun.
But
Yeah.
again, that's maybe like one criticism some people have that weren't in on that joke. It was like
Yeah,
an awkward
and I
like
feel
10
like it's
minutes
very
where people were just like,
specifically-
I don't understand.
Same with Ragnarok, and this movie probably even more. There's a lot of Australian, New Zealand specific humor that I feel like a lot of people won't get.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Mad Max references, and like Stephen Curry plays the Blue Priest guy at the start of the movie, and there's like an Australian, New Zealand kind of bent to
yeah.
things,
Yeah.
yeah.
But like again,
Which
as
you shouldn't
criticism
have
of the whole God thing. I'm like considering where the story is set and how it starts off.
Mm.
It obviously implies that most of these gods are just these gluttonous kind of beings. They don't
Yeah.
care about their followers. These are more about their own power and
Yeah.
enjoyment. So I'm like, yes, he's got a
That's-
bit of a
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
walk
that
in
makes
the
sense.
shop
It
accent.
sets
I
gods
was
up.
three
Yeah.
flake
Yeah.
with the minimum chips. You know?
Yeah, you
but
big ish.
Like I was saying to my friends when I first saw the movie with them, I'm like, they probably could have gone even further where he's like laying on his side and he's being fed grapes
Grapes.
by the
Yeah.
slave girls.
Like hedonistic vod.
Yeah, exactly. Ooh.
Yeah.
Like, they probably should have done that as well. But yeah, like what we get the same idea from
Yeah.
how he's portrayed and how the other gods and the orgy that they keep mentioning and stuff. But yeah, it's great. And then the action scene's good too with like the guards who bleed gold.
Yeah.
God.
Well, I suppose
people
we
and-
should start talking about Christian Bale's gold, the God Butcher.
Yeah,
I
which-
liked.
Some say he killed a real god for this scene.
Yeah, I was telling Alan
His
that.
method.
Yeah, his method. So he went out and he tracked down a real god, forged his own necro sword, and
All those scars, those were real.
Yeah, exactly.
Christian Bale's
I do
hardcore.
appreciate the makeup as well in this movie.
Yeah.
like one thing I really liked is how he has the tattoos, which assumedly are religious tattoos, and then once he renounces his religion, they're all scarred up, which means he's like deliberately carved off the tattoos from his skin because now he hates all gods. I'm like, that's cool. Apparently, I heard there was a scene of him doing that, and the studio forced them to cut it. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But you don't necessarily need it, but it's like
It would have added some cool background.
That
yeah.
visual storytelling of he has the religious marks,
Do you know how I got
then
these
he
scars?
hates gods. Yeah, and then he doesn't, and it's like they're all scarred. I'm like, that's cool. He looks cool. He's scary. Christian Bale does a good job. Yes, maybe there's a couple too many jokes for him, but not a big deal. He's mostly scary.
I suppose before we do a deep dive into him, we should talk about the one issue that we had with the film. And this just we don't have encyclopedic knowledge of the MCU. We're not Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
But it seems that they're using the word necro sword twice in two different contexts.
Yeah, like I was when the movie finished, I was confused. The necro sword that he gets, I thought that was the same sword that the Black Knight,
The Ebony Blade, yeah.
his family held, and which you see at the end of the Eternals. But after Callum did some googling, we found out it's like technically two different swords.
Yeah. So the issue is that, and if I'm wrong, please let us know. But from looking at the MCU Wikipedia, Hela from Thor Ragnarok, she creates necro swords in quotation
She does
marks.
in the comic books. In the
The MCU wiki says she makes necro blades, I should say. Necro blades, and then
but
there's
that's
a
never
picture,
seen on screen, is it?
There's a picture in the wiki of her with some black looking
Yeah,
swords and stuff.
She takes stuff
That's
and
black stuff.
she
Oh,
generates
are
the
those-
weapons.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So they have the necro
Well,
blades,
Loki can do that too, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
but they have necro blades in quotation marks. But then they have the necro sword, which its history isn't delved into,
Yeah.
and they look kind of similar. So there is this issue where if you look up necro sword, the necro blade or whatever, you also get the Hela results. So it seems like they should have
Changes. in
they
there.
should have made some creative adjustments to make it clear that they're not
No,
related
it's
to
not
each
a big
other.
problem. It's just I was confused at the
Yeah.
end. I'm like, this because the sword gets destroyed. I'm like, hang on, isn't that the Black
The
Knight's sword?
ebony blade,
And
yeah.
also, didn't the Black Knight have that sword handed down throughout?
Yeah, it's like, there's too
it's
many
just-
black
it's
blades in the
different-
MCU.
Yeah,
as
it's a different sword. I was like, I was confused. But yeah, Gore the God Butcher, the villain of the film. I love the intro with him. How,
Yeah.
it's very
Really-
sad, very somber. Well done. Then he gets the sword and it comes out of the shadows. That's really cool. And then he's like, I'm going to kill all gods. And I will agree with the criticisms. There's not enough of him, and there's not
Yeah.
enough of him killing gods. You don't really see him kill any gods.
there should have been a whole montage section of
Yeah.
him slaughtering
Or
gods.
at the very least, when Sif calls the distress signal, then it should have cut to her on the planet, like fighting Gore
Yeah.
and the monsters, and Gore like killing that giant god that we see later on. At least then we get one scene of him god butchering, because he's called Gore the God Butcher.
But we
You
don't
see.
really, yeah.
I agree with that criticism. You need a bit more of him. But what you do get is fine, and the action scenes with him are really good.
Awesome, yeah.
The way he kind of summons
Monsters
shadow
from shadows.
creatures, yeah.
Very darkness-esque,
yeah,
like you
and
pointed
like the
out.
tentacles come out. It's kind of like the darkness, and there's also like how he can like kind of teleport.
Yeah, his
through,
whole fighting style, if you want to call it that, is
Yeah.
really interesting. We
Like,
haven't seen much of that
disappears-
in the
shadow
MCU.
play.
disappears through
Yeah.
one shadow and then appears on the other side of the room in another shadow. That was all
Yeah.
cool. The way his sword kind of comes out, the way he grabs
like
it,
out of the ground
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah,
that
it's-
all stuff
it's
is cool.
awesome.
And that black and white on the Shadow Realm fight,
Super tasteful, yeah.
so cool. Like just
It
stuff.
I even
adds-
liked-
it
I even liked the
added
little-
such
yeah.
gravitas to the scene.
I even like the little moments in the Shadow Realm where it's like Natalie Portman uses Mjolnir to sort
Yeah,
of show
it's
the way,
like
and there's a little bit
blue.
of color around it.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
See, like, there's stuff like that where it's just like, how can people hate this movie? I can understand having problems with it, but how can people hate this movie or
Yeah.
say it's the worst MCU movie?
Like, it's really creative. Like I
Yeah.
keep
Not enough
saying.
Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the Shadow Realm. Damn it.
like, yeah, like, I don't know. All that stuff was really cool. Yes, I know Gore in the comic books is a more complex character, and he
Well, they're all more complex in the comic
he
books.
could have
you know?
been even in this movie they could have like done a better job with him. But I think what we get is still pretty cool.
So,
yeah, it's fine.
just in the last bit of 10 minutes, I'm assuming it's an hour we're doing. Or I might be going car talk.
Yeah, we
So-
might have to do a bit longer off air, and you'll head to car talk. We'll see how we go.
So the end of the film has, what is it, Jane Foster dying of her cancer finally because she sacrificed herself and came to save Thor and the kids.
Yeah.
And
A hero's death.
a hero's death, yes, and turning into those weird little fireflies.
Gold,
gold,
And then
which
she
implies
gets to go
she's
to
an
Valhalla.
Asgardian now.
Yeah.
And then, damn it, I forgot his name already. Christian Bale's character.
Gore.
Gore. He, I guess, initially plans on getting to, the Eternity's end to make a wish to kill all the gods, but he has that change of heart and decides to bring his daughter back.
Yeah.
That part, again, we discussed it yesterday as well, that it didn't feel...
Oh, 100%. Like, one of the problems I have with the movie is bringing his daughter back. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, he's been corrupted in his mission for revenge. He's lost sight of why he was going on that crusade for revenge in the first place. And so for him to realize it's like, I can just bring my daughter back, that makes perfect sense. What I didn't like is, and they didn't earn this at all, is it's like Jane dies, Gore dies, now Thor is left with the little girl.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, now we're father and daughter. And I'm like, excuse me, what? And there's like an action scene where they fight together side by side. I'm like, hang on, you didn't earn this. This is out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere.
This
It
needs to
happened
be a
very,
whole nother movie.
and it happened very quickly.
And there was
they tried to do a Wolverine Origins in 10 minutes.
yeah, I'm like, that I agree with any criticisms of that. That did not work. They didn't earn that.
And it feels like there was a good opportunity to just keep the kids there.
Yeah,
And have it
That's what
join
I
the kids
said.
as like the
Yeah,
Asgardians.
that's what I said after the movie finished. I turned to Nathan. I said, all the kids, because at the end of the movie, where Thor gives all the kids part of his power, and they're like helping to fight the shadow monsters, which is pretty hilarious. There's like the girl with the bunny with the laser eyes. That was awesome. But then Heimdall's son like gets them to safety, and they're gone. They're not at the end when Gore makes the wish. I'm like, all you have to do to fix it is keep all the kids there, and when Gore says, I'm dying, if I wish my daughter to be alive, she'll be alone. Instead of Jane just being like, she won't be alone because Thor will be her new dad. And it's like,
Assuming on Thor's behalf.
yeah, it's
okay.
like, what? and like Thor somehow replacing his love for Jane with a new little girl that he's never met before, and he's never hinted at the fact that he wanted a family or anything. Anyway, they could have just kept the kids around, and when he says, the little girl won't be alone, Heimdall's son should have said that and accepted her into the Asgardian or with all the other kids. And then at the end of the movie, when all the kids come back to Asgard and they're like, you're part of Asgard now, you're part of our family.
Yeah. Look,
and Thor can go off on his own adventures, and he's gotten over.
Yeah, and you still have a place for that girl in the franchise.
In the future, she can come back. I also don't like how she automatically has powers just because she's been wished back to life. I'm like, hang on.
Yeah,
You're telling me if you make a wish with eternity...
I expected her to have powers because her reflection in the water after Gore dies and makes the wish... You see her outline has...
Apparently she's referred to as Eternity's daughter as well.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if I go to a wishing well and say, I wish my dead daughter came back to life, and she did, I don't expect her to come back to life, plus she has the powers of the wishing well.
Keep in mind that she doesn't... My assumption is that because she didn't physically exist... her matter is made up of some special magical eternity matter. Because when you see her in the reflection under Gore's body...
No, I understand.
Her outline is celestial.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But it's not earned. Her powers aren't earned.
What I'm saying is it's like she could have just popped back into existence and like, okay, now she's a little girl. You don't have to talk about it.
You can hint at her having powers, but you don't need to show them that way. Leave that for another film.
No, she doesn't need powers at all.
She could have just not had powers, trained as a Valkyrie, like under Valkyrie.
Yeah. Why is she such an important character?
And also, she's not even in the comics. They made it up just for the film.
And she's like 8 years old. It's just like they're gonna wait 10 years before she becomes a Thor or becomes a Valkyrie or becomes her own superhero. I'm like,
Maybe the 8-year-old
Do we-
might not want an acting
do we
career in
need-
Marvel
Well,
for
I mean,
the
it's-
next
it's
25
Chris-
years.
it's Chris-
Bad guy.
Chris Hemsworth's daughter.
Yeah.
It's actually played by
I
Chris
know,
Hemsworth's real
I know,
daughter.
but it's like, are we really locking this little girl in for
Yeah.
X amount of years?
Sign this
you know?
contract.
Yeah.
you know, Daddy wants to be Thor for the next 10 years,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you have to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just saying, like they did that character, they didn't earn that. They needed to. If that
Yeah.
was going to be a thing, they need to set that up
Yeah.
or make a whole nother movie where at the end
They might
then
rope her
become-
into the Celestials, that type of thing. I don't know.
Speaking of Celestials, it was cool when they go to the God City and the Celestials are just hanging out outside because they're too big.
Yeah.
They're like peering in the window.
And the goats break in. Oh, such a good.
Oh, the goats are hilarious. Like the goats are that thing where it starts off funny and then it becomes unfunny and then it becomes a funny again.
Yeah, it comes around. Yeah.
Especially after you forget about it,
Yeah.
and then
You just hear 'em screaming in
they
the
they
background.
land on that boat and it's like ah, and it's like oh my god, so good.
Those goats from the comics too, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're based on real Norse mythology.
Apparently, Thor would kill these goats, eat their meat, and resurrect the goats.
That sounds like a thought.
Like he's
Yeah.
dead. Like just, it's kind of weird. Like Thor, like all Norse mythology, it's just kind of
See,
weird.
maybe
kinda
if-
weird,
Maybe
yeah.
if they wanted to do that ending, maybe Thor could be the key to eternity, and so technically the daughter is his daughter as well because his power was made to create it. I don't know. At this point, I'm just. But you know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
needed more work.
It was definitely J.J. Abrams did. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it was an ass pull. They're just
yeah.
like, whatever.
Yeah, they Force Awakens it, and we have to just deal with it now.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah.
It was a mistake, but hopefully they'll do something interesting with the character going forward. That's all we can hope for. It's all we can wish for at Eternity's end.
Yeah. Well, Eternity also, I think in the comics is like Galacticus's brother or something. Like they're like connected. So it looked like Galactus. I thought it was at
Yeah.
the
Very
start.
similar head design.
Yeah, and so that might come up in the future.
Hopefully.
Well, it's one of the more obscure Kirby creations, I think.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
a lot about.
Because to know all these guys, you either have to be one of these people who lives and breathes it all the time, or you have to read a really specific era,
one, yeah.
like the '60s kind of sci-fi Marvel comics
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll probably went over a lot of people's heads. Certainly went over mine, and I'm a comic book nerd.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a lot of deep cuts and the
But deep cuts are cool
references.
though.
But yeah, that's
But
like,
where's
but-
my Kang?
where's
my Doctor Doom?
That's the thing. That's actually what I want to talk about is like
He's been promised for a long time, and I'm taking it personally at this
I think
point.
one of the reasons people reacted so negatively towards this movie is because we're how many movies into Phase 4?
Yeah.
4 movies?
Thor movies?
4. Hey, this is
Four
Thor
Thor?
4. 4.
Thor 4?
4.
Yeah.
Free for free.
Like we're so many movies into Phase 4, and really nothing's a lot's happened.
Yeah, not really.
I
Other
think-
than the Loki TV show, they haven't really set
It's
up.
just been character establishing.
Yeah, and I think people are starting to get tired now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but this and Eternals at least had cool stuff going on, whereas Doctor Strange felt like just pure filler.
Yeah.
And like this movie,
Yeah.
at the very least,
It's like halfway between.
at the very least, like I said, it has that relationship closure. But yeah,
There
in
is
terms
some
of the
filler feel in
in terms
there,
of
yeah.
the overall MCU storyline, it definitely feels like we're still working up towards. Well, we still haven't seen anything that we're working up
it's-
towards.
I saw a tweet though that made me laugh, and I'm like, I kind of feel this way as well. That if Doctor Doom, when they finally introduce him, if he cracks one joke, movie ruined. He has to be the
Yeah.
most serious guy on
Yeah,
every
I-
set.
I
No
will-
humor ever.
I will say that in how much we've complained about people's reaction to this movie, if Doctor Doom starts doing the whole like jokey joke, yeah, I'm out.
Like, I do think that in the previous phases, right, every movie has been building to something.
Yeah,
Like, even if it's just
Yeah,
a stinger
yeah.
at the end, it's building to something.
even the early movies
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, you're not sure where they're going. Are they ever going to make Avengers?
The
You know?
problem with this phase is that outside of a couple of things, like maybe One Division and
Eternals had that
Loki.
one. Eternals is
Eternals
kind of building
and-
towards something.
Well, yes and no, right?
Well, they
Eternals
build-
is
there's
building
that
towards its
larger-
own thing.
That
kind
larger
of.
escalation
the
with the
whole
galaxy
cosmic, the
stuff.
cosmic,
Yeah.
And not forget Harry Styles playing Star
Yeah.
Fox.
And you know,
But there's also Blade, and that they're
and
building
Loki,
that other aspect of it.
and Loki. Everything, there's nothing. We're not really building to anything that's larger than
there's
whatever.
there's no
fran-
Infinity Stones. You remember in the up to the lead up to Infinity War,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We always had
And there
that
was
cool
the
section
Thanos
where
stingers at the end. It's
yeah,
like,
we
you're
get that.
leading
Oh, he's
up
got
to-
another gem. He's
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
closer. So
With-
there was that meta aspect where
Yeah,
you're
I
watching
think-
another story unfold.
With this, it's like it seems like we're not building to anything that's really leading to any larger crossover.
I think one
It's
of the
key. It's insular.
Yeah, one of the problems is that COVID messed up their release schedule. So things that were supposed to come out earlier coming out now. Things that were supposed to come out before Loki coming out now. Like, it's all been switched around.
yeah.
I think also the MCU is getting too big. We complained about this with Black Widow, where it's getting out of hand. And I feel like they're like, well, we signed Chris Hemsworth to do Thor 4 in 2021, which now became 2022, whatever, because of COVID. It's like, so we got to make it. We promised Scarlett Johansson we're going to make Black Widow, and we put it on the schedule, so now we have to make it. And it feels like they're just kind of churning it out without,
Yeah.
like, really...
The plans is a bit weak at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're in this weird phase of, like, they just got to get through the stuff on the schedule before they can finally get to the good stuff, which is
Yeah.
actually a problem of the franchise itself and of the way they make these movies.
It's also a very comic book.
And like, that's why I said, like, I still enjoy the MCU. These are issues in a comic book. They're episodes in an
It's
ongoing
like, you know,
series.
in DC more
But
than Marvel, you'd get
it
that
is-
countdown to
Yeah.
Crisis or whatever.
It is
Like,
a problem.
We're in the countdown phase at the
Yeah.
moment where it's just, okay, 5 movies to go
Yeah.
until the big one.
But it is a problem in terms of, like, they are doing a bit of quantity over quality thing. I think they need to rein it in.
And the thing is, comic books come out every month, right? Comic books come out every
That's
month.
also true.
Yeah.
We're getting old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Can't be like 5 movies left, and it's
Yeah.
like,
It's funny.
that's in 4 years, sir.
Yeah.
We were
Like,
talking-
hurry
well,
up.
I was
Yeah.
talking about that with Jake about video games a while ago. Jake was like, you know, I wish Nintendo would hurry up because I'm not a young man anymore. I was like, there's only, and that's the same for these films. It's like, you know, obviously we're going to be here until the MCU fizzles out. But let's be honest, how long are they going to wait before the Fantastic
Yeah.
Four? How long are we going to wait for
But
all
that-
these big films?
That's what I'm saying, is, like, you feel like you got to get to the
And then
point quicker.
People are going to start
But-
to forget.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean releasing 5 TV shows and 5 movies a year. Like, just relax a little bit. And they're not. They're going to keep going more
Yeah.
and more and more and more.
But they're also not building up to anything.
At the moment,
Yeah.
No. I do. I think the next movie is Black Panther. Do we have to go off air?
Not yet. Well,
Okay.
at the moment, Jazzler's podcast
No, I'm
listeners
just
don't
saying
understand.
for Matt's
Yeah.
show.
I'm
after
waiting
us.
for the signal.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'll keep
Oh,
going.
well, we keep talking anyway.
I'll keep rambling.
Yeah.
Black Panther Wakanda Forever, I think, is the next on the schedule. Unfortunately, we all know, like, what happened, and that's going to be really tough. But just...
They
just
can
in
just
terms
bad
of-
CGI him in. It's fine.
Oh, God, please no.
Deepfake him.
You know that's coming in the future. They've already done it with Star Wars. But, like, that's one part of it where it's like, what are they going to do? Who are they going to replace him with? You know, how are they going to handle that?
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be the last movie of, like, the filler.
Yeah.
Be-
I'm not looking forward
because,
to it.
and again, because it's on the schedule, they were going to
Yeah.
make it when Chadwick Boseman was still alive. They're like, okay, they've put that in the schedule. Black Panther 2 comes
Yeah.
out this year, yada, yada. And now they have to do it. And
No,
I think...
and it even got delayed further because one of the actors didn't want to get
Oh,
vaccinated.
yeah, there's a whole... That's disappointing.
Yeah,
as well.
there was that whole
Yeah,
thing where one of the
Letitia,
key
right.
cast members refused to,
Yeah.
allegedly, I should say,
Yeah.
refused to get vaccinated.
But see, like, so there's all that, and it's just like... it's like, mate, I mean, but see, I wouldn't say, oh, they should just cancel it and bring him back later.
Yeah.
But maybe in these movies have to be... But then there are contracts. You see, I guess if you sign
Yeah.
for it, they're not... Yeah, you have to get... But I think that's going to be the last one that's like, okay, why are we seeing this?
I guess the
And then
next big
the
one
next-
is Quantumania.
That's the one after Black Panther
Yeah,
is...
and that's like
Ant-Man and the Wasp
hypothetically that
Quantumania,
kicks things into gear.
which is the one that they've said introduces Kang into the
mythology,
the movies, because we've already seen him in the Loki show.
yeah.
And that deals with all the crazy multiverse stuff. So I think that'll be the start, and then after that's Guardians of the Galaxy 3, And then
Which is more eternally kind of business.
yeah, then the Marvels, which is all spacey stuff again, and then Fantastic Four apparently after that. So
Nice.
I'm hoping that once they introduce Kang in Quantumania, which I guess is next year sometime, then he'll start to be the Thanos of this
Phase.
the second half of Phase 4.
Yeah.
Which again, like I agree with people, like we're already halfway through Phase 4 and we haven't seen the main villain outside of the last episode of Loki, which if you're not in on the comics and in on the
He's just
production of
some
the show,
dude.
he's just some rando. So yeah, they need to maybe hurry up with that.
I
But,
agree, yeah, definitely.
I think Black Panther will be the last one where you feel like this is still just filler.
Yeah.
Should we, I got a couple more things to talk about. Should we keep going for a few more minutes
Yeah,
until we're kicked
absolutely.
off?
Oh, good.
So one of the problems, you know, like we said, with the major problems are not enough gore, not enough god butchering, not enough Mighty Thor with Jane. Probably could have reined in some of the jokes. Didn't earn the ending with the daughter, but overall fun, enjoyable movie.
Yeah.
I will say that a lot of these problems, like with Doctor Strange 2, probably another 10, 20, 30 minutes could have helped this movie.
Yeah.
And like with Doctor Strange, when we talked about how apparently originally it was like 240 minutes.
Yeah.
And that might never have been the intended running time. That might have just been all the stuff, okay, put together, and then they were always going to cut it down.
Yeah.
But that movie could have used
Extra time to
extra stuff,
explain.
and it could have used the stuff that I heard was cut out of it. And I think that's the case here as well. I have a feeling there's stuff that was left on the cutting room floor.
Well, it's...
And my theory is that Marvel has now mandated that they need to come in at 2 hours. Because this movie was only 2 hours. Doctor Strange 2 was only 2 hours. Maybe after Eternals, Spider-Man, that was already in
the
production.
Golden Child.
That
Spider-Man's also the Golden
yeah,
Child.
one that was already
Yeah.
in production. Two, they can get away with anything they want. I think after Eternals, Marvel maybe got cold feet and are like, you need
Yeah.
to start.
That's
reining that in.
and we know that was unfairly received.
Yeah,
as well.
and I think that's a mistake because these movies
they
have
need
so
time
much
to
stuff
they need time to
do.
breathe a bit.
Yeah,
I will say, unfortunately, Taika Waititi seems to disagree with the director's cut mentality. Like, you know, ever since
Well,
He's just getting defensive.
after,
Yeah, I
after
think
Justice
it's-
League, you know,
I
everyone.
think it's a two-pronged thing. One, he's like, this is my movie, everyone
Yeah.
can shut up. And two, Marvel has never done an extended
No.
or director's version,
Yeah.
and I don't think they ever will because everything's very controlled.
Yeah, that's right.
And so even if he wanted to, he couldn't say
Yeah.
it.
So it's unfortunate that ever since the Snyder cut, everyone's always like, "Oh, where's the hidden cut?" I'm like, well, you know, sometimes a filmmaker just makes a film and it's released.
Yeah, not every movie. Yeah, exactly. But
Although
yeah,
I do want to
there
see
are-
the butthole cut of Cats.
I do.
But yeah, like there is stuff that I feel like there was probably stuff cut out. I've heard a rumor that in order to find Stormbreaker or find out what the key to eternity was, Gore goes to Eitri the dwarf and tortures him and's like, because tell me about Stormbreaker kind of thing. Like,
Oh, that's
how do you
cool.
summon the Bifrost?
That's cool.
That needed
yeah.
to be in the movie because, like Gore just finds eternity. There's no Indiana Jones-esque like finding a map or
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to
yeah.
find your way to it. He's like
Yeah.
kills gods. He disappears from the middle of the movie while they go to the god city, and then he rocks up and they fight on the Shadow Realm, and then they do it goes straight to eternity. And I
Yeah.
do agree, like that felt
Very rough. Yeah, very quick.
very quick. And yeah, like I have a feeling there was Jane stuff that they've cut out, her as Mighty Thor, and like stuff with Sif, like she's like kind of been out of these movies for a while, and she had a small cameo in Loki. She has a small part in this. There's probably stuff there that they might have cut out. I don't know. Maybe they could have used her a bit more. Even Valkyrie, like Valkyrie's cool and everything, but in this movie, she's just like a sidekick. She doesn't really get her own.
She's just another action piece on the battlefield, like
Yeah.
another chess piece, I should say,
Yeah.
on
Like,
the battlefield.
so, like, yeah, you could have developed her more, whatever. Korg is obviously just this comic relief side
Yeah.
character. So, yeah, but, yeah, there's this other stuff that they...
And what do we think
Pretty
Thor 5's going to be? I reckon it's going to be Zeus's
Oh,
revenge, right?
Well, at the end, the
The
in
stinger,
credits,
yeah.
mid credits scene was Zeus talking to Hercules, who's this is the Marvel version of Hercules.
Yeah,
not-
and he had the Marvel costume too.
Yeah.
I was like, nice.
and he's played by Roy Kent, so that's cool. So
We're going off the air for our podcast listeners. This won't affect you, but
Yeah,
up next is
we're only got like 5 more minutes to talk about, so we'll go
Car
off
Talk
air
with
and then
Matty
we'll
J.
come back.
Okay, we're back.
Oh, we're off air.
We're off air. All
Cool.
good.
Okay, so just like 2 more things and then we'll finish up.
Yep.
Yeah, Hercules, awesome.
Yeah, because he's one of the cool characters. I loved him in the comics. Because he's very adventurous, very, very brawly. He's got like a really kind of like, fist fighting, throwing.
Him and Thor being like frenemies is going to be great.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for that aspect because I always mentioned, no, do you think they'll ever bring Hercules into it?
Yeah.
And then you were like, no, wait, Callum.
Yeah,
And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I remember when the Thor Love and Thunder trailer came out and you saw the God City and you're like, oh, is that Hercules? Like, what are they going to do? Cool.
Yeah.
And then the movie comes out, it's like, oh, it's only Zeus. And then Hercules comes in right at the end credits there.
He has the
awesome.
club too. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
yes.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. The one thing I want to see, though, is because... Oh, we didn't talk about how... Mjolnir like breaking apart and like going like a multi-weapon
Projectiles,
like,
yeah,
all
that's
these
sick.
projectiles. That was and then
Amazing.
coming back. That was
Yeah.
so cool.
Amazing, yeah.
Yeah, like how can people not like this movie?
Creativity.
Yeah.
I keep saying it,
It's just like that. Yeah, because Hela broke Mjolnir and then it reformed, and it's like okay, anyone else like you would have gone okay, the hammer is reformed. But it's like, nah, now it's a weapon, like a projectile weapon.
Yeah.
Like
That
a
was a
shotgun.
very cool use.
That was
of-
really cool.
Yeah.
And the way she uses it to destroy the Necro Sword.
Yeah, she's like absorbs the pieces into Mjolnir and then
and then summons
blows
the
up.
lightning and blows
Yeah.
it up. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was so awesome. But yeah, at the end of the movie, Thor has, Jane dies. Thor gets Mjolnir back, and he's still got Stormbreaker, and he gives Stormbreaker to his rando new daughter.
it's still weird.
Yeah,
that's
she's
never not
just
going to be
"What?"
weird.
And she's so small, and she's carrying this giant thing. Obviously, that's like CGI augmented, so she can carry it. And it's just like what? But I was just like, when are they going to bring in Beta Ray Bill, who is an alien warrior, who has is worthy of carrying Mjolnir, and in the comic books was the first person to wield Stormbreaker.
Yeah.
In the MCU, they took that out of the comics and they're like, oh, we're going to take it from Beta Ray Bill and give it to Thor. And that's cool because that's what the MCU does. They take little things from the comic book and they reinterpret it for the movies. That's fine. But before this movie came out, people were like, oh, Beta Ray Bill, he's going to be in it. And then Christian Bale got cast and it's like, oh, he's going to be Beta Ray Bill. It's going to be so cool. Didn't happen. I want to see Beta Ray Bill. I want him to get Stormbreaker so it all comes together and it'll be cool. But now you got Hercules. It's not really...
I do hope the next movie opens with Russell Crowe like just waxing poetic about how no one respects him anymore and back in the day, and like we get like a montage of him like, you know what I mean?
that's
like,
what he does in the end credits scene.
Yeah.
He's like, people protest.
Yeah, look, I want to see that at the start, like just almost open directly as a continuation from the Stinger. That's what I want.
Yeah.
That's how I feel like it should open.
Yeah.
With Russell Crowe being overly dramatic about how no one respects him, and he used to have all the ladies and all the wine and all the grapes in the land, and now he has nothing. Like I want that so bad.
Yeah. No, yeah, they'll do something like that of like he sends Hercules after him. Hercules and Thor fight it out for the first part of the film. Then they find a common enemy, whatever, something like that. I think that's it. Oh yeah, there's like the whole Matt Damon stage play thing, which they did
Fantastic.
in Ragnarok. That was hilarious. The whole R.I.P. Loki tattoo on.
Yeah, that was
Thor,
funny.
That was good. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
He's going to be so surprised when Loki's alive.
Well, see, remember when we reviewed Loki, and I was just like, Loki's been done to death, pun intended. Like, He was dead, then he came back alive. He was dead, then he came back alive. He was dead, then he came back alive.
Technically, he's dead. I should say
He-
multiversal Loki
Yeah,
can still make
but
an
you know what I
appearance,
mean.
yeah.
Like, and then he was good, and then he was bad, and then he was good, and then he was bad.
It'll
And
be
it's like-
more
And
interesting.
then when he died in Endgame, Infinity War. When he died in Infinity War, I was like, good, that's it. Tom Hiddleston's great, Loki's great, but that's enough. And then they did the whole TV show, and I was like rolling my eyes. And the TV show ended up being
Awesome.
really enjoyable.
But also,
But-
but they're in a position also now where if they want to keep Loki dead to the rest of the MCU, they can. Because
That's what I was gonna say. Is I think they're gonna keep him separate. He's just gonna be in the shows, and I think that's a smart decision because, like I said, he's been done to death in the movies.
Yeah.
His whole thing with Thor is resolved. Like, just get over it.
Yeah.
But this is comics. This is MCU. They can 10 years from now, they can have, older Loki, older Thor, come back to uniting. Oh, I thought you were dead this whole time. It's like, well, technically, I'm not your Loki. They could do anything they want. It's comics.
yeah.
But yeah, they could probably just keep him separate.
they
For a
can,
while,
they can
yeah.
keep him separate in whatever. I forget the name of the institution in Loki.
The
Um,
TVA
the Time Variance Authority, whatever it is, the
something
TVA.
like that, yeah.
Like everyone in
he's
the
going to
TVA,
come back for the fight against Kang,
like
but
everyone in the
that's fine.
TVA lives in their own bubble, and Loki can exist in that bubble perfectly. fine.
Yeah, it is weird because is the record? Oh, good. Okay. Like it is weird because the early MCU, you only had the movies, you didn't have the shows. So and then you had the end credits thing with Thanos or whatever, and so they were setting, and you had the Infinity Stone, so they were setting that up. Now you've got the TV shows where you have to watch those to see the introduction of the multiverse and the introduction of Kang. And like I said, COVID screwed things up where that show was supposed to come out after certain movies, whatever. But it is weird of like, okay, you are supposed to be introducing the multiverse and Kang the villain, and you really
Nothing's
other
happening, yeah.
than the end of Loki, like you haven't.
Nothing's
done
happened,
that.
yeah.
So it is kind of a weird thing.
Well, look, I haven't seen it, but is Miss Marvel addressing this either? I haven't. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I finished Miss Marvel.
Do that without spoiling anything. Does it address the future at all, really, in any meaningful way?
Yes, in one very, very small, very, very big way.
Okay.
Which I won't spoil.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a more self-contained thing. And then right at the end of like the last episode, they use a specific word that means a specific thing, and it blows everything apart.
Okay.
But other than that, it's its own self-contained thing.
Yeah.
But
I'll have to get on it.
yeah, it's an enjoyable show. It has all the MCU problems. The CGI is not good. The action is boring. But all the family...
Wait for us to complain about the CGI for She-Hulk.
Yeah. Oh God. Ugh.
Attorney at law.
Yeah, but otherwise the Ms. Marvel, all the family stuff, the comedy, it's all great. The characters.
Stretchy arms.
Well, she does have stretchy arm, but not in the same way. Are they
doing her dirty?
No, they did an interesting thing with it. I like it.
Okay, I was gonna say because
We'll talk about when you guys watch it. 'Cause
Okay.
we're just
All right,
rambling now.
I'm going to get on top of
We're
it.
just rambling. You guys want to mention anything else before we?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
I recommend it. Don't listen to the haters. It's fine.
Yeah.
Hey, look, anyone who's listened to this show knows if this movie was bad,
We
I
tell
would be
you.
ripping into it.
Yeah.
If this movie was bad, we would all be hating it. There are movies.
Another classic Thor adventure.
Yeah. there are movies where we do not split hairs, we do not mince words. And yes, I have problems with Thor: Love and Thunder, but I do not understand the the extreme reaction this is getting. It's a perfectly fine movie, and
Yeah.
I'm sure maybe I'll completely forget about it and it won't end up being great, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Especially considering the other crap we get in the MCU.
Like, would rewatch it at some point in my life.
yeah.
Go watch it.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah.
Please like and share the Tuesday Review Facebook page, the Twitter, the Instagram, all the socials. You can catch us on Anchor and Spotify and iTunes.
Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
We might be back.
Look, COVID's everywhere right now, but we should have a 2-week community, so we should be great.
You guys do, not me.
Yeah, but I'm not contagious anymore. We should be
Yeah,
stay
but-
indoors, James.
Yeah, I don't go anywhere
Yeah.
anyway. So other than Thor, I saw Thor twice. Haven't been anywhere else.
Don't go anywhere, James. All right.
Yeah.
Me and Cam are good for probably 2 more weeks.
Okay,
So
we
we've
might
got
get
2 more episodes in us.
Then we'll go on hiatus.
And then we'll see you in another 6 weeks. All right, everybody. Good night.
Thank you. Adios, cousins.